there, welcome to my review of the Rockford Files Season 5, Episode 8, A Good Clean Bust with Sequel Rights, written by Rudolph Borchert and directed by William Wyatt. The episode begins with Rocky watching the introduction to hit cop show Falcone, and what an opening it is. All the high-octane 70s action that the Rockford Files didn't do, but other series did. It seems Jim has been hired to work for the real Falcone on which the series is based, as a kind of babysitter. Jim tries and fails to get out of the job given to him by the insurance company.
Couldn't pull you out of this and keep our relationship intact.
Which entails making sure that nothing happens to Falcone while a new toy line based on his show is developed.
Fun Toys is a big account.
We then see the toys, which are loosely connected to the show, as most tie-in toys were at this time, some very loosely connected, before we meet the real Falcone himself, played by a returning Hector Elizondo, who is also our Columbo connection for this episode. Meanwhile, Jim is attending a briefing about his assignment, and we see the contrast between Falcone's now glamorous world and the mundanity of Jim's work. When the pair finally do meet, neither want Jim to be doing the job, but the toy company insists, and they are forced to bond.
Now, why don't you two just have a couple of drinks together? I'm sure you could become pals.
Falcone acting the big man, but also seeming to not be a phony.
How long were you down, man?
5 years. I don't know what showed.
Not to your average cop, but I told you, I got the eyes.
What is clear, though, is that he has a taste for fame and wants more.
You like that guy they got playing me on TV? I think I should have played it.
Falcone bumps into an old friend who, like everyone in LA who isn't a wannabe actor, is a wannabe producer. But Falcone isn't interested in his proposal.
I need some intros. I got the experience.
I gotta get out of here.
As Jim takes Falcone around town, he proves himself to be an egomaniac, as well as just a maniac, starting a fight before running out on Jim. This is yet another strange opening for the show, but one that is filled with intrigue, as Falcone is clearly up to something with his suspicious conversation with the producer, Augie Augustine, his blend of bluster and genuine experience, and the way he ditches Jim at the first opportunity. He's a really well-written character that we are obviously supposed to dislike due to his general attitude and his jibes towards Jim. But we're also not supposed to doubt his credentials. He is the real deal, he's just a dick. Jim finds Falcone arguing, then fighting with a guy named Wexler, although it's again kept intentionally vague, as he keeps meeting people from his past. Dennis is forced to book Falcone for assault as a result of this fight, while the toy company panics. But we do find out at least that Wexler is Falcone's old partner.
I've known Wexler for years.
While Jim gets fired in the process.
I'm out of it?
You heard, Seals?
He still might not be completely off the hook though, as Wexler makes a call dropping Jim right back in whatever it is. And the next day we find out Wexler wrote a tell-all book about Falcone, which Falcone's still mad about, right before a couple of goons try and shiv Jim while he's fishing. Now it's personal, as well as being very confusing, and so Jim wants some answers. Falcone tells Jim that what Augie told him was that Wexler is on a contract, which they got in the way of.
Contract on who? Augie didn't know. He said he'd check it out.
They go to see Augie for more details, and we find out he's basically a more successful angel.
Hey! Oh, we already met.
An informant for Falcone, and he tells them one of the guys that attacked Jim is a mob hood. Jim then goes to see Wexler and is about to charm some information from him when Falcone arrives and blows the whole thing. Luckily, on their way out, they manage to spot that they're being followed by the goons, and Jim manages to ditch them with ease. While there's a lot going on, there isn't actually much plot in this episode so far. Falcone's old partner is now doing hits for the mob, and Falcone stops him from carrying out the hit without knowing who the hit is on. And that's about it. But all of this happens to Falcone once he hits LA. So what we're seeing is just his natural reaction to finding this information out straight away, and how this differs from Jim's much more cerebral, or perhaps risk-averse approach. However, it still manages to be a really thrilling ride, sort of like if Rockford had done a crossover episode with Beretta, a show that was based on real cop stories, and is likely inspiration for the character of Falcone and his successful TV series. The real fun of this episode is watching everyone else like the very unlikable Frank Falcone.
You know, I read your book 3 times, Mr. Falcone.
Well, almost everybody.
We are against you and all your toys, your TV image.
While Jim just tolerates his ridiculous tough guy methods. We've seen Rockford contrasted and clashing with other personalities before, but this is an entirely original take on that trope, and continues to be a very engaging theme for the series. Having finally managed to ditch Falcone, Jim finds out that there are no known mobsters in LA who might have a hit on them, and Falcone finds out his toy line is in jeopardy thanks to his behaviour.
Am I reading this correctly, Jeff? Frank Falcone is currently out on bail.
What's funny about this scene is how the toy company wants to switch from the Falcone line to
solar powered. We're preparing them for the future, a clean atmosphere.
Something that people are still fighting for just 50 years later. Jim picks up Falcone and works out that Augie is actually the intended target for doing all the double dealing he's been doing. The goons arrive at Augie's place, which just so happens to be another Columbo connection, the Clay's house in Last Salute to the Commodore. And Jim gets Augie to play dead so he and Falcone can get the drop on the goons. This is a fairly inconsequential episode in the grand scheme of things. A simple episode that pokes gentle fun at other TV detectives, but it's very well written, and Garner and Elizondo look like they were having a blast, which translates well on the screen. While I don't know for certain, I think I can see why this episode might have been swapped with The Empty Frame in the broadcast schedule, as that episode tied in more thematically with the episode before it, whereas this one is very much a standalone one-shot. Still, I can't really fault it. While the plot might have been basic, it was well paced, intriguing, and featured some great performances from all involved. So, despite not really having any great affection for this episode, I think it's probably a 4 out of 5 for me. Thank you. Goodbye.